What's going on, America? What's going on, Facebook, YouTube, and all those good places? It's me, Kevin from Kevin's Corner, and I'm back, man. That's right, man. I hope you guys are ready for a show tonight. But before we get started, I want to let y'all know, tricked ya. This is not actually live, but what it is, though, is a pre-recorded live show just for y'all while I'm out on business, okay? So I want y'all to still be able to enjoy some of these live shows. And I'm going to do it just like it normally is. So I want y'all to just participate like y'all normally do. Okay, hit that like button, share my videos, follow me on all the other platforms. All right, and then what I'm going to be doing is probably jumping into the live chat with y'all and seeing y'all feedback and having a good time with y'all. Because sometimes it's good to just be a part of the audience and enjoy it from that perspective. So with no further ado, let's finish up what we were talking about the other night, which is an anarcho tyranny. That's what I'm talking about. Wait, how do you pronounce it? Anarcho tyranny? Okay, yeah, that's what it is, man. Because we were talking about that the other day and seeing exactly what they're doing to our country. And it appears that that's what we're living under now. So I didn't get the chance to finish up all those clips. So I want to do that. And then we'll move on to the next topic, okay? So hold your horses. Let me get loose, man. Oh, what? Much just like a silverback. Real gorilla. Real gorilla. Real gorilla. Gorillas in here. Gorilla in here. Gorillas in here. Gorillas in here. So, y'all, since this is pre-recorded / live, okay, we're going to go ahead and drop in a commercial break. Noble Gold Investments have made it their mission to stay on top of the most important economic news. 3 bank runs within the last month, and these are the second largest and third largest runs in history. Now, the government is taking steps to guarantee all deposits, but what that means is more money printing. Plus, the feds are sitting on unrealized losses of $1.2 trillion on their $8.3 trillion bond portfolio. And the feds will continue to raise interest rates even if they tank the economy. Do you know who the only ones that are not afraid? The ones that are invested in gold and Noble Gold Investments. Gold is the most stable asset outside of government control. Thousands have approached Noble Gold Investments to get their hands on gold. Hurry and go to noblegoldinvestments.com to secure your wealth right now, and you'll get a free 5-ounce American the Beautiful coin with each gold or silver IRA. That's if you qualify. Go to noblegoldinvestments.com. That is noblegoldinvestments.com. Now, let's get to this video. That's right, it's Gorillas in here. Now, y'all know we left off talking about the fake news and this whole Trump indictment situation. And we covered some things. We covered a lot, in fact. We really highlighted how the fake news and the Democrats are all plotting together to go after Donald Trump in efforts to stop him from running. We all know what it's about, even though they're trying to pretend. They're not. It's just about, holding everybody accountable. It's about protecting our democracy. It's about all the stuff that it's really not about, that they can't tell us, see. Because if they told us, then it would be obvious to all their bubbleheads that they are corrupt. And they're out to get Trump. And by doing that, they're revealing that we live in a banana republic. We live in the same type of communist / Marxist governments that they claim they're always fighting against, because the U.S. is holding up, democracy and freedom and all of that stuff. And I'm starting to doubt it. So let's go ahead and jump right back in. And I think Tucker is going to set us off tonight. I'm just kind of laying the groundwork so we can all get caught up what's going on concerning Fat Albert up there in New York. Let's check it out. Oh, yeah, Anarcho Tyranny.
The defining principle of the American legal system, really of American life, the principle that has kept us free, is equal justice. And the principle is fairly simple. No matter what you look like or who your parents were or what your politics might be, the law treats you exactly the same way as it would any other American. In this country, justice is blind. Now, that's a lofty standard, but because Americans have long believed in fairness, and because most of the people in charge of administering that system have behaved in good faith, this country has, for the most part, lived up to its core ideal for 250 years, making it the greatest country in the world. But the populist surge of 2016 changed everything.
Whoa, wait a minute. Tucker, are you telling me this is the moment where the left lost their minds? You telling me Trump broke them mentally? Or in the words of Quincy, mentity. He broke them mentity? and they could no longer conceal their evilness and their diabolical plan. Now, let's be honest. Hillary Clinton, she just thought she had it all in the bag, and they were going to finish up what Obama started and just go ahead and take us right in to a globalistic alliance with all the rest of these countries that's on board with this garbage. And it was going to do it so smooth and right up under our noses that we might not even catch it until we're there. See, but when Trump popped up on the scene, he threw a monkey wrench all up in that bad boy, and they went into panic mode. They could no longer pretend that they weren't up to some shenanigans. So they went on a spree to destroy this man, revealing what they're really about. That woke us all up. That's what made us all say, now, wait a minute. They're doing some stuff that is uncommon and that we have not seen up to this point. Why are they all converging upon this man? Is that man that evil, or could it be something else?
Permanent Washington suddenly felt more threatened by its own voters, by American voters, than by any foreign adversary.
Why,
Donald
Tucker?
Trump, to them, seemed more dangerous than ISIS. They panicked. And in their panic, our leaders decided to turn the American legal system, as well as the American intel agencies, and if necessary, the U.S. Army, against their political opponents.
So wait, is this the same U.S. Army that creepy, sleepy, sleazy, slimy, sloppy Joe was talking about? Hey, you know what? If you're going to go up against the U.S. Army, you're going to need more than AR-15s. You're going to need fighter jets and a couple of... Is that the same army? The one that Joe was talking about? But yet, at the same time, they still claim that we almost overthrew our whole democracy with cell phones and MAGA hats on January 6th. But that's not here nor there. Yeah, but yet they still want our guns, though. Now, isn't that kind of ironic that they want our guns, and yet they're using all these intel communities to go after us and target us, and even, if necessary, putting us on lockdown? Tucker, you're making me become more suspicious about relinquishing my Second Amendment rights.
They felt they had no choice. In doing this, they abandoned the ancient principle of equality under the law, and they replaced it with what is effectively a loyalty oath.
Now, that's not what the Constitution requires. See, you have to understand the reason we have not just fallen into a third world country is because at least they created the perception of equal justice. Now, we had pockets here or there where you're going, I don't know, that didn't look too equal. We've had the history of America, especially back when those Democrats ran the South with all of their racism and Jim Crow and all that stuff. There was times during that time where you said, that is obviously not equal justice amongst these people right here. Yeah. But as we progressed and got better and dealt with some of those issues, relatively, it appeared that there was some equal justice. They at least convinced us that for the most part it was. But now, when Trump got in, it exposed that they have created an illusion. Just like my last live show where Candace Owens was saying how a lot of Americans are brokenhearted because we had this image that America was justified in spreading all of their democracy and their freedom and their convictions across the globe. Now they're doing that against us, and we're saying, now, wait a minute. Did they tell us that we're going over to Iraq, we're going over to Syria, we're going over to Afghanistan, we're going over there to spread American values? And in reality, they were over there spreading propaganda. They were over there violating sovereign countries. They were over there turning their countries into anarchy, making them go up against their leaders, whether the people wanted it or not. And using all of these tactics that now we're starting to see them use on their own people. I'm starting to question whether all of those times where folks might have blindly just supported America because we assumed we were the good guys, I'm starting to question some of those things now. And I'm thinking maybe that wasn't the right formula for us if we really wanted to be a beacon of light to the rest of the world. So how about we shut our mouths, mind our own business, stop going to other countries, trying to drop in all kind of new ideas and stuff of transgenderism and pronouns and stuff, and let those folks be who they are. We learned this real quick last week when those African countries decided we don't want certain things over here in Africa, and all of a sudden they were no longer black, beautiful African countries that Americans just supported. All those liberals start condemning them for some reason. Yet they'll tell everybody that our country is the colonizer, always going into other countries and stuff and just raping and robbing and stealing and all of that stuff. And they want to go over there and do that to them? They want them to go ahead and concede and say, we'll go ahead and adopt your Western values in regards to which y'all allow our kids to see and do. Maybe they don't want that. But our Democrats don't mind spreading that type of gospel all over the world. Now, I'm sorry, Tucker, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Let's continue.
Opponents of the regime became enemies of the state. Just 24 hours after a Manhattan grand jury indicted Joe Biden's rival in the next presidential race, another jury, also in New York, convicted a Republican social media influencer called Douglas Mackey. What did Mackey do wrong? Well, Douglas Mackey's crime was mocking Hillary Clinton voters.
What? Hold up. That's a crime? You ain't allowed to mock crooked? I mean, that's why she's crooked. That's why we mock her, because she's crooked. We don't even have to say her whole name. We just call her Crooked, and everybody knows what we're talking about. Hey, did you see Crooked last night? Yeah, I saw Crooked. Yeah, you're talking about Hillary, right? Oh, absolutely. She's the only crooked we know. She's the crookedest of the crookedest, okay? She is the number one crookology, man. She is crookologist number one. Okay, so yeah, this guy made a jokey joke, and apparently under this new regime and this banana republic, we ain't allowed to do that no more, y'all. We ain't allowed to do that. Now, I'm wondering what's going to happen to this young man who just made a joke, because I just did that too. Now, I'm wondering if they're going to bust down my door and say I'm not allowed to laugh at Crooked.
Online. You're seeing on your screen the meme that Mackey posted on Twitter during the 2016 election.
A meme?
In that meme, Mackey suggests it's possible to vote for president by text message because only Hillary voters could be stupid enough to believe something so absurd. But of course, in real life, no one did believe that. Mackey's insult did not alter a single vote in the election. And no one has proved otherwise.
Okay.
The government brought forth not a single victim of this crime. It couldn't. Douglas Mackey was joking. Nobody believed he was a federal election official. And in fact, his social media profile pictured a Donald Trump hat. But in the wake of the 2016 election and the rising hysteria about Donald Trump, mocking the Democratic Party became a crime. So as a result, tonight, Douglas Mackey faces 10 years in prison.
Okay. Now, you think this is okay? Where are the Republicans? Where are all of the people trying to protect our democracy and freedom of speech and stuff like that? So let me get this straight. Just as the Democrats and the deep state are using jokes and pretending that when you joke or use sarcasm or criticize people that you disagree with, they're now trying to pretend that they interpreted this as a serious threat. That's what they're doing. You're telling me when folks get out there and they start saying things like, you know what, I disagree with AOC Bubblehead number one. Then all of a sudden they're saying, well, you know what? You put her life in danger, because that's what she does. You're putting my life in danger. It's almost like you're putting a hit out on me. That's what she does. They bubble wrap themselves from any type of criticism or jokes or anything to that nature by pretending that they don't understand what a joke is or sarcasm or criticism is. See, they've allowed them to develop this new method where they will act as if when you point out the fact that kids should be able to go and do things to themselves like they've been trying to push, that's putting their lives in danger. That's hate speech. And your words now are like physical. They're physical. You just basically verbally punch that person. You verbally just talk that person into self-deletion, all of that stuff. And then when Trump gets up and he says, hey, Russia, if you see those 30,000 emails, yeah, could you send them our way? Instead of recognizing it was a joke based on the fact that the whole audience busted out laughing, and it would be dumb for anybody to openly ask to collude with Russia on a mic in front of everybody. Based on that, they couldn't deduce that Trump was joking. They actually pretended that what Trump was saying and asking was serious. See, yet they want us to think that we can trust them when it comes down to equal justice under the law. They're not abusing the powers. Absolutely not. We should look at the DOJ, the FBI, the CIA, and all these other organizations as legit. But yet if we bust a joke, we get treated differently. Going back to the original Anarcho Tyranny, or Anarcho, however you want to pronounce it. So let's see what happens, because it shows that there's a difference in the way they treat their voters versus us. Surely it couldn't be that, right, Tucker?
The case against Doug Mackey is the most shocking attack on freedom of speech in this country in our lifetime. It's also a useful lesson in who will be allowed to speak going forward. As it turns out, a woman called Christina Wong posted an almost identical meme the same year,
she went to jail?
The 2016 election. But unlike Doug Mackey, Wong voted for Hillary Clinton. Hey, Trump supporters, she wrote, skip poll lines and text in your vote.
Yeah, and I believed her. And that right there interfered in the election, because I was not able to vote for Donald Trump because I believe that this woman was really a state representative, and then I called that number and it was wrong and I missed voting. That's what they're saying happened when Mackey did that. So nobody actually was tricked by it. It was a victimless crime. Nobody called into the FBI and said, hey man, I didn't get a chance to vote because this dude put that meme up there and I believed it. So we got a victimless crime, but yet this dude is being punished for that. How would one know that whatever joke they come up with falls under these made up rules that the Democrats under this new form of government violates whatever they just decide? Oh, I'm sorry. That's the whole point. They wake up and decide that day that what you just said is a violation. So we're going to go ahead and prosecute you. No, not you. You're cool. You're cool. You voted for us.
Same crime. But the Department of Justice under Joe Biden has shown no interest in prosecuting Christina Wong. What? Do you see how this works? Yeah. Have you internalized our new partisan legal standards? That would be the point of the exercise. They want you to know the rules. And by the way, Douglas Mackey is not the only Trump supporter who's now going to prison because of how he voted. According to new reporting from Julie Kelly, the FBI's counterterrorism division just arrested a grandmother in the state of Virginia on 4 misdemeanors this week. What exactly did she do? She entered the Capitol with her elderly mother for a total of 15 minutes on January 6th. She hurt no one. She destroyed nothing. She just stood there. And yet at the very same time, during the very same week, none of the transgenderist thugs who invaded the Tennessee State House yesterday have been rounded up by the FBI counterterror division. And of course they won't be.
That's amazing to me. So let me understand this correctly. You got those folks down there on video up there pushing past all those police officers and nobody's going after them. But you got the old grandmother who was in there with, I guess, her mother, and they were just walking around aimlessly, didn't do nothing. But they're looking at some 4 years, maybe, perhaps. Now, you would think that these Democrats and these agencies are able to say, we're pushing the people a little too far and we're being a little too obvious that there is a two-tier justice system and we're not the government that we portray to be. We're actually trying to move us straight towards what some of the countries we try to condemn behaves. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get there. You would think they would try to at least disguise it. Why now? Why are they at the point where they're like, we don't care. We do not care if y'all recognize just how corrupt we are. That's the question we need to answer. So let's try to answer it.
Joe Biden just honored them with a Trans Day of Visibility. So what we're watching here, unmistakably, is bigger than Donald Trump. What's fascinating is that none of this has alerted the watchdogs to government
where's
abuse.
the media?
Our media? No, just the opposite. The media are cheerleading our new standards of tribal justice.
The good news is here, it's our legal system in action saying nobody is above the law.
Nobody's above the law. Not Republicans.
How do they all know what to say?
Not Donald Trump, not anybody.
I tend to think that nobody is above the law.
Hey,
no person above the law.
We have political leaders who are not above the law.
We don't believe that anybody should be above the law.
They were all beating the same drum, if you will. No one is above the law.
No one is above the law.
Wow.
Today's evidence is that that includes Trump as well.
No, today's evidence proves that you guys work for the government. You guys work for the state. Y'all don't work for the people. See, they just use the same buzzword right across the board. How did they all get that memo? How did they all know that? You telling me they all woke up that morning through osmosis, just decided, you know what, I'm feeling something in the atmosphere. I think the narrative today should be nobody's above the law. Or could it be that message was passed down to all of them? So guys, just in case some of American citizens start to question our motives and what we're doing, and if we're violating the Constitution, if we are destroying our norms, if we're using all of these powers to destroy our political opponent, let's go ahead and pretend our political opponent is so guilty and been skirting, sliding through all of the many attempts of us to destroy him based on accusing him for breaking so many laws that I just can't even count at this moment. Yeah, just in case they start getting hip to that, remember to remind them that nobody is above the law. That'll shut them all down. Here you are like, man, they've been going after Trump forever, man. This is starting to get a little redundant. I'm questioning their motive. Nobody's above the law. Oh, yeah, well, there you have it. I almost got caught up there. I almost actually tried to see things the way they really are, through truth. But they reminded me by letting me know that nobody's above the law. See? So, do they really want us to believe that they are independent, upstanding news organizations? I doubt that. Tucker, I think he does too.
New life has been breathed into that saying, no person is above the law.
Let's be completely clear. None of the people you just saw care a thing about justice. Let that word burn in their mouths.
Yeah,
no.
like hot coal.
They are obviously bloodthirsty. They would cheer as you were necklaced in the street. No one is above the law, they would scream as you writhed on the ground. They would. But as long as they're still pretending that the old standards of fairness and equal application of the law apply, then whatever happened to Sam Bankman-Fried? Remember him? Largest financial crime in history? To this day, no one has explained or bothered to even try to tell us how Sam Bankman-Fried was able to make his bail.
How did he? How did this dude with that poodle sitting on top of his head, how did that man somehow make that bail after defrauding millions and millions of people? You would have thought they would throw the book at him. You would have thought that the media would be hounding the DOJ or whomever is prosecuting this dude, trying to figure out what's the latest update. But it just kind of faded away.
Was set at $250 million. All that has been disclosed to us, the long-suffering public, is that a former dean at Stanford and a Stanford computer scientist put up $500,000 and $200,000 respectively. And his parents put up the value of their home. So that leaves quite a big gap. Where did the rest of the money come from? No one will tell us. No one in the media is asking because no one cared. Sam Bankman-Fried didn't pay off a former mistress. No, he defrauded 1 million people and ran off with houses in the Bahamas. And yet the system is protecting him.
Anarcho Tyranny. Yeah, now it's all coming full circle. It's becoming clear, Tucker. So this guy right here was being used to funnel money into many Democrat projects and campaigns and stuff like that. So we're going to go ahead and cover this dude. Not necessarily openly and blatantly cover him, but what we're going to do is start to ignore all of the details about this guy. We're not going to pursue, we're not going to use our state-owned media to pressure us to tell them what's the latest on this case. Instead, they're going to move on and pretend like all the focus must be on Donald Trump because he's the evilest person on the globe and he's threatening our democracy. While this guy right here gets rewarded on some stupid bail mess and the numbers just don't add up. I'm going, no, wait a minute, dude, he's shy. He's a bit shy. So how did he get that money? See, why aren't we still talking about him? Why don't we know about that list of people who was on Jeffrey Epstein's plane? Why aren't they going after all of this stuff? Why don't we know these things? Why ain't the DOJ coming out and saying, here's the new update? But they're not doing that, see, because they want us to forget about this because they're running cover for these people.
Because he voted correctly. But he's not the only criminal that Washington refuses to prosecute. There are so many of them. The people who destroyed the U.S. dollar, for example. The ones who degraded the United States military and turned it into a joke, which it is. The ones who flooded rural America with opioids and killed hundreds of thousands. The people currently selling our oil reserves to China. None of them have ever been prosecuted. In fact, they've all been promoted. The hallmark of tyranny is the total distortion of justice. Differences of opinion become felonies for which you can be imprisoned, while actual crimes are described as just business as usual.
Wow. So no wonder Nancy Pelosi can get away with inside trading. No wonder creepy sleepy Joe is not being indicted. He's not being paraded. He's not getting none of the treatment that they've given Trump and all of his people. See, no wonder that's happening. No wonder all of these folks can lie to Congress and yet go on CNN and live wonderful lives, get paid. No wonder. See, so now we're starting to see a two-tiered justice system. Now, how long can America survive like this? You do know when things like this start to happen, unfortunately, society falls apart. Once the sheets are pulled back and people realize, wait a minute, y'all are treating these people differently and abusing your power while restricting our freedoms and giving them additional freedoms. How long do you think society can hold it together, or is it their goal to break society apart? to destroy society? Why are they finally getting so belligerent that they're like, we don't care if these folks see it? Because what are they going to do? In fact, if they do something, it will justify our reaction because we built the narrative that these people are already domestic terrorist extremists thanks to Joe. MAGA folks. So, this might be one of the final stages of their diabolical scheme to push us beyond the point of no return.
The way that we do things. And so even as we're trying to throw people in prison for criticizing the Democratic Party, we are allowing people who've hurt this country profoundly to ascend up the ladder of success. Victoria Newland, who's one of the leaders of the State Department, the architect, by the way, of our current war with Russia, was also the architect of the war in Iraq. Now, that war began under false pretenses. More than 1 million people died for no reason, and it destroyed ancient Christian communities in Iraq.
And what
Before
happened
the war, there were about 1.5 million Christians in that country. Now just a few 100,000 are left. But Newland was never held to account for any of this. In fact, she was praised and then she was promoted. So she went back into government service and she was caught on tape orchestrating a coup in Ukraine.
Wow. Now, what kind of gig is that? Boy, I like that gig. All right, Kevin, come into the office. Yes, sir. Or you were responsible for making sure that we hit a profit of at least 10% and rolling out that new product line. Making sure the marketing department was all in line. And we noticed that nothing went right. The marketing fell apart. No one bought an item. In fact, somehow, magically, we went negative. I mean, I don't know how that's even possible. We didn't even try to sell anything, but somehow we're negative 500,000 items. And we don't even know how that happened. And we're on the verge of being bankrupt. However, we like the cut of your jig. We like your style. So we like to give you a bonus and a promotion. What do you think about that? I like that job. Because see, that's what the Democrats do. They don't care about corruption and evil. They're like, yo, the reason we picked you, hired you, and used you is because you're corrupt and evil. You're actually doing your job.
We're not making this up. Here's the tape from 2014.
That's is the guy who's got the economic experience, the governing experience. He's the guy, what he needs is Cleach and Tony Book on the outside. He needs to be talking to them 4 times a week. I just think Cleach going in, he's going to be at that level working for Yatsenyuk. It's just not going to work.
She's talking about another country.
I think that's right. Okay.
So that's the lady who lectures us about democracy, subverting democracy in a foreign country, getting caught, and then getting an even better job, and then pushing another pointless war on our country, this one against Russia. She's one of the architects of this war. Newland is driving this nation into a conflict against both Russia and China. We can't win that war. We will lose that war. It will destroy our country. But
wow. And yet she's still out cooling, right? See, nobody's questioning why she's out. I just saw a clip of Bush trying to talk about Russia invading a sovereign country like Ukraine. And he had a Freudian slip and said, Iraq. I mean, this is appalling that someone would invade Iraq, without proper evidence. That's me. My fault. Yeah, you're talking about yourself. Guilty of all of that, but escaping all the consequences somehow. So you flub up and get promoted.
Victoria Newland has never been punished for any of this. Once again, she's been promoted. The destruction that she has wrought is really almost beyond fiction. Here she is bragging about blowing up critical infrastructure in Europe.
No way.
Watch.
Senator Cruz, like you, I am, and I think the administration, as Dream 2 is now, as you like to say, a hunk of metal at the bottom of the seat.
That's just disgusting. And yet no one says a word about it. What does it take to get indicted in Washington?
Exactly.
Well, if you're Victoria Newland, of course, you will never be indicted for anything. You'll get some sort of glass ceiling breaking award for women at the State Department. In Washington, you only risk indictment and punishment if you dare to criticize people like Victoria Newland. And that's the real lesson of what's happening to Donald Trump and his supporters. Their real sin was opposing the people in charge, and particularly in opposing their foreign policy. So using the legal system to stop a political rival in a presidential race is the gravest possible attack on our country's core institutions, the ones that matter. It's election interference. It's an actual threat to democracy. If Donald Trump had...
So y'all hear what Tucker just laid out? We got examples now. We see the difference. We see how they somehow just turn a blind eye and a deaf ear to all of the obvious violations that some of the people they put in charge have done. I mean, they flub up our whole country and yet nobody's fired. You got the whole debacle in Afghanistan and folks still got the job. You got Pete Booty and trains derailing and messing. He still has his job. You got inflation going up and you got the big lady with the big elf ears. She still has her job, baby, New Year's ears. We got all of these people stinking it up 100% and still got jobs. Funky Fauci. All of them still have their job. And then, of course, the worst, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I mean, all of them should step down. Mucus, Garland. Well, the reason they all still have their job is because they're doing their job, which is to create this new system and destroy the old one. So we'll keep doing this and pretending that it's all of these other circumstances that's causing this. That's what it is. It's not our incompetence. No, it's not our corruption and our evil. No, it's other circumstances. Or they will go ahead and just tell you, you know what? It's because these things don't line up with our values. We're allowing all of this chaos to take place. We're trying to fight against racism. So to do that, we got to let your cities fall into chaos. Yeah, there you go. We're trying to stop gun violence against kids. Therefore, to do that, we got to take all your guns. It's things like that. So they're either lying to us and telling us we're doing this for your own good. That's why you got to get locked up in your crib and get forced to take this or lose your job. It's for your own good. Or they're saying it's greater than us. What do you want us to do? All of these other things happen. But in reality, they're evil.
Had retired in 2020, would he have been arraigned today? No. Of course not. No. Top Democrats know that. Some effectively admit it. The liberal blog Politico this morning ran a piece describing what it called President Joe Biden's most senior advisor, predicting that Trump will be the Republican nominee, and because he has now been charged with crimes, he will lose the general election.
What?
Thanks to this criminal case, the Biden White House believes that swing voters, the critical voters in a presidential election, are, quote, now permanently out of Trump's reach. And just to make certain that swing voters never fall within Trump's reach, Donald Trump is scheduled to be back in court in New York with the accompanying media circus just weeks before the first Republican primary.
So nobody notices that? All the dummies who's out there like, finally, Trump's getting arrested for all of his evil deeds. You don't realize the strategic timing and plan of this? You know, wait until he runs, wait right good until now to bring up all this garbage, and then reschedule him to come back right before the primaries, hoping that all of those swing voters would be dumb enough to fall for this. That's what they're hoping. You don't see the connection, but yet folks out there talking about, nah, it's not political. And how dare you be a Republican and not see that this is all political? You got to be one dumb Republican, and usually conservative voters are pretty informed. So if you're out there, catch up to current events, man.
This is the boldest election interference ever attempted in this country's history. And if you doubt that, if you think it's maybe on the level, then we suggest you look carefully at the indictment that was unveiled today. Donald Trump, as you probably heard, has been charged with 34 separate crimes. 34. Those crimes turn out on close examination to be the same crime repeated 34 times. And that crime is, quote, falsifying business records in the first degree. So the Manhattan DA alleges that Donald Trump sent his own money to various people for various entirely legal reasons, but didn't account for it correctly in his office records. What? That's what he's accused of. And even if what Alvin Bragg has said Trump did, he actually did do, Trump could not be charged with that because the statute of limitations has expired. So the question is, how did Alvin Bragg drag Donald Trump into court today?
Well, Tucker, it's because he took that big square piece and stepped on it, trying to get it into a circle. That's why. He took this case and started bending and twisting it into all type of pretzels to get it to fit. That's why. He did it because the folks that are in power and covering for this dude are evil enough to say, go ahead and do it. Don't worry about the fallout. Don't worry about how it looks. We got your back. We ain't going to go ahead and let this fall back on you at some point. You just do what you promised everybody to do before you even got in office. You already told the people you was going to go after Trump. And he's too dangerous for us to try to be discreet. So we don't care if it looks obvious. So what? What are we going to do? What are they going to do? They can't stop us. So that's how, Tucker,
Well, he did it by claiming that Trump falsified business records as a means of violating some other, much more serious
like
law.
what?
That's what he's saying.
Like what?
Here's Alvin Bragg today.
Under New York State law, it is a felony to falsify business records with intent to defraud and an intent to conceal another crime. That is exactly what this case is about.
Excuse me, teacher. Excuse me. What's the other crime? Oh, what? No, don't save your questions for later after you figure that out. Okay.
34 false statements made to cover up other crimes.
Excuse me. And that keep popping up. Is this going to be on the test? Because, see, I would hate to go ahead and say, well, you know what? For falsifying and trying to set up other crimes. Wait a minute. What's the other crime? I would hate to do that, teacher. So can you please tell me what the other crime? What? Just shut up and put my hand down? Okay.
The felony crimes in New York State, no matter who you are. We cannot and will not normalize serious criminal conduct.
Except for if you're a drunk driver, except for if you're attempted rapist, except for if you are a burglar, you assault people. But you know what? Let me just sum it up with this. If you are a person that's in the category of a victimized group of people, then you'll probably walk. But if you're an upstanding, law-abiding citizen, then you're going to get it stuck to you. That's what you're going to get. So all of those crimes that this fat Albert right here done dropped those charges to and dummied it and watered it down based on his overlord George of the you-know-what? That guy, this guy right here is talking about nobody's above the law and we're going to go ahead and prosecute all serious crimes except for the ones that are serious.
The defendant repeatedly made false statements on New York business records. He also caused others to make false statements.
So here's what Bragg just said, in case you weren't paying attention to the lecture. Donald Trump has committed a crime not by changing business records, but by changing business records in order to conceal another more serious crime or to defraud somebody. Yes. So let's take it this in order. What is the more serious crime? Well, we have no idea because Bragg hasn't told us.
What the crap? Where's Kamala Harris? We need a Venn diagram, you know, those circles and stuff. All right, we got the crime. We got wait, what is this crime? No, wait, this is the falsification of something, Merjiger. All right, and then we got what is Trump? Where is he at? Is he in the middle? Is he in the circle? There it is. That guy just got out there and gave us a whole bunch of goobly gaw. And he wants that crap to fly. Even the fake news have people on their channels going, yeah, that don't look too good. But hey, so what? Let's go ahead, tie Trump up, occupy him with this garbage, and make it plain. And we don't care about the fallout. We don't care if the people are going, you know, this is obvious.
No such more serious crime is listed in the indictment. And critically, and this really is the point, Donald Trump has not been charged with another more serious crime. So what we have as of tonight is an indictment that does not allege specific violations of the law.
Kind of like the young man who did the meme about crooked Hillary Clinton, and he has no victim. Nobody complained or anything. But you know what? Just interfering in the election process by making a joke. Yeah, there you go. That's why. It's kind of like how they're logging all these people up for sedition, even though they're not charged with it. Insurrection, even though they're not charged with it. Domestic terrorism, even though there's not such a law or, thing like that in the U.S. at this point. I mean, you know what? Let's not get into semantics and, particulars, okay? Because they're making it up as they go. That's what they're doing.
Well, that's, of course, unconstitutional, but it's also farcical. What about the fraud claim you just heard Bragg make on television? Well, Bragg claims that Trump sent money to Stormy Daniels in order to influence the outcome of the 2016 election. And in so doing, he tried to, quote, defraud voters. Well, that turns out to be an actual crime that's on the books. Bragg is claiming that Donald Trump committed a campaign finance violation, which is a federal crime, by the way. The problem is he did not commit a campaign finance violation. Nobody is claiming that he did, including the Federal Election Commission, which has investigated this question. So as a legal matter, the case brought today, the 34 felonies, make no sense at all. It's ridiculous. But as a political tactic, which is precisely what it is likely to be effective.
Wow. So, Tucker, you're telling me that Fat Albert here knows that he doesn't have a case. In fact, he knew he didn't have a case, and he wasn't going to even bring nothing far as indictments and stuff. But somebody must have got to Fat Albert. So he changes his mind. He puts together this Frankenstein-style indictment right here, gets up there, goes round and round that mulberry bush, hoping we don't recognize that that's what he's doing. He uses the same, accusation 30-something times and just rewords it. 34 charges and all of that. Are they different, sir? What? And there you go, asking too many questions. So that's what he did. And he wants this to fly. This Fat Albert right here went ahead and upended 250 years of precedence. He upended our whole trust in our dang on democracy and all of that. He did something that has never been done before. But then again, the Democrats been doing that now for quite some time. They're the first when it comes down to many other things. And I mentioned some of those things in my last live show. So these guys don't mind being the first. Okay. And yet they want us to pretend that this is normal. This right here is not the real insurrection. Nope. This right here is them actually trying to protect our democracy by upending it.
And that's why the media so fervently supports it.
Well, President, and do the legal team, the unsealing of the document, do you support that? Does he support that?
Yes, I mean, I think it will happen no matter what. I would like to see what the basis is for this. Let's remember that the real crime here that we have is that D.A. Bragg did leak that there were 30 to 34 counts. We already know that in itself is a felony. You are not to let that go. So at this point, I mean, and I like everybody in this country to be treated the same no matter who you are.
We don't know if the DA leaked that information. That is speculation.
Well, we don't have that information, so, well, it's not speculation. We don't have the information. So it came from their office.
Don Lemon, he don't like that. He don't like that. See, he gonna try to go ahead and run interference for that raggedy Fat Albert, because that's the real crime. If he was all about doing things by the book, he would be a deputy dog and go out and try to find out who the heck leaked that mess. See, that's a real crime. You know, same thing with the Supreme Court Justice leak. Nobody's looking for these people. They don't care. Because they knew. They're like, hey, either I'm going to personally leak this as Fat Albert myself, or I'm going to give it to somebody and say, don't you worry about it. I need you to go ahead and leak this. Trust me, we got you covered. It'll never come out. Nobody will sniff around to find out who's responsible for the real crime. And then Don Lemon tries to come in out that. Well, you don't know that. He's doing what my buddy did in college, where he tried to misplace the blame. But it was only one place the blame could be placed. So as my buddy did something in practice and start walking away, and the coach said, hey, Robert, how many times are you going to do that? And Robert brushed him off and said, I don't know, coach. He stopped Robert and said, hey, Robert, if you don't know, who knows? See, only one person could know the answer to this. Only you, Robert. So if you don't know, who knows? Same thing, Don Lemon. If it didn't come from Bragg's office, then where'd it come from? We don't have it.
A kind of an alliance between different groups that have a history of being dispossessed and discriminated against, whether they are Jews or Black Americans or LGBT folks, that might come together to push back against the white Christian nationalist assault on American democracy.
What is this guy talking about? You hear that guy right there? Do you think if they gave him one smidge of power, he wouldn't send us all to the gallows? You think he would stop for 1 second to respect different Americans' opinions and all of that, and freedom of religion, as you just heard him say, push back against white Christian, Anglo-Saxon Christianity and all that stuff? That guy right there would celebrate if he locked us all up for doing absolutely nothing but wrong think. Because see, our different beliefs and our words are considered violence.
You don't know what part this man might play in the future of our democracy.
This campaign of disinformation that's continuously undermining our democracy.
One day people will look back and say how we've handled this issue of Trump, how it affects our democracy.
Only if we lose. Only if God just says, I'm done with America and I'm not going to allow the eagle to once again fly high. Only if God just says, that's it. I'm using this whole situation to show y'all you better get your house in order because these Democrats are playing for keeps and it ain't going to get better. But I'm using this whole scenario in Trump and I'm allowing them to reveal who they really are so y'all can say, yeah, it looks like it's all coming to an end. But if things get flipped over on its head and these evil actors are dealt with and exposed, then history will reveal that these evil, nasty folks that's sitting here telling us and lying to us about, yeah, history will show that we saved our democracy based on how we handled Trump. No, it will show the real insurrection and threat to our democracy based on how y'all handled Trump. That's what it shows. All you're watching right now is complete propaganda, lies, dis, and misinformation.
Really could be a major event, could be a big turning point, one way or the other.
The federal prosecutors have said this is a crime that imperils our democracy.
So it imperils our democracy, and because we care so deeply about democracy, we're going to prevent the leading candidate in the other party from running for president, not let voters vote for him. Notice there was not one word about any crime here, meaning a violation of statute. So what is this really about? Well, you may have heard MSNBC guest Peter Beinart describe today's circus in Manhattan as part of a larger offensive by a coalition of the aggrieved, and we're quoting, to push back against the white Christian nationalist assault on American democracy. In case you're waiting to hear the real motive here, wait no longer. There it is. Let that sink in. Does that sound like justice to you?
Nope.
Or does that sound like tribal justice? But these same media outlets insisted they were actually very somber, approaching this whole situation with the respect it was due.
Okay, so here's their opportunity now to try to make themselves look like a legitimate news organization and not like being a part of the whole process to make this happen. See, they were the cheerleaders. They were the ground level troops that went in and laid the groundwork for all of this garbage, all of this bombardment that's coming right now towards Trump and us. They were the ones who laid that. They were the ones who laid the false information, disinformation to all of their viewers so that they don't recognize this for what it is, which is a real insurrection, which is an abuse of power, which is them implementing true tyranny and operating like a banana republic. But the media has tricked a whole bunch of folks into thinking they're trying to finally get justice on this evil, corrupt Donald Trump. He doesn't deserve the same, rights of all the other Americans. And neither do you white nationalists that support him. See, so now they got to pretend like they weren't cheerleaders and excited for this stuff. So here it comes, y'all. Y'all ready for these acting performances and action?
My thought is it's a very sad day for America.
If you don't see this, it's a sad day for America.
It's just so serious and solemn.
There is a sadness, I think, that we got to this point in America.
Well, it is a sad day for America. It is a serious night and a somber moment for our country.
This should be a somber moment, right? I have a lot of friends on the left side of the spectrum who are doing a happy dance right now, and I don't think that's appropriate.
So wait, it's a sombering, sad moment that we were excited to see happen. Isn't that crazy? So they were excited and with glee created the sad, somber moment. These are the same people. When is he going to be held accountable? When is justice going to be served? And you know what? This right here, finally, we see that nobody's above the law. And now their acting coach said, now, let's not look malicious. We got to flip that. We got to try to win back all of those moderates that might say, y'all celebrated this and y'all were excited and kind of instigated it. But then again, I guess you guys are saying that, we're not gloating. This is a sad moment. So, you know what? Maybe it's all on the up and up. No. You're not going to pull this one on me. I know right now they're in front of that camera and it's, all right, remember, this is a sad moment action. Just like we just watched them all get on TV and say, nobody's above the law. Nobody's above the law. Nobody's above. Now, miraculously, they're all saying this is a sad moment, solemn moment, sad moment. Could it be the same people who told them to say nobody's above the law is now telling them to come out and say this is a sad moment?
It's just not appropriate. Meek is very sad.
She's busted up.
As if she had authentic feelings of any kind. So you have to ask, given that our entire system has been subverted to stop this one guy from becoming president again, or from serving effectively as president when he had the office, what is this about? Why do they monomaniacally hate Donald Trump so much? Oh, he's obnoxious. He's racist. Okay, right. It's not about that. Here's what it's actually about. Donald Trump challenged the reigning foreign policy orthodoxies as president. He infuriated the neocons who control the State Department and the Pentagon. When he briefly paused arms sales to sacred Ukraine, they impeached him for it. When he ordered troops out of Syria, as was his constitutional right as commander-in-chief, the Pentagon just ignored him. So it's hard not to see Trump's current indictment as an effort to make sure that he can never do anything like that again.
You got a good point, Tucker. In fact, it was when he came from Davos and had the nerve to point out the fact that all of those evil globalists in the back room was trying to get us to surrender our sovereignty. And he called them out and said, we're not going to become a part of this global cabal. We're going to remain a sovereign nation. And right after that, the evil emperor who has been financing people like Fat Albert came out and said, Trump is an anomaly that will disappear in 2020. And just so happened, miraculous things took place in 2020. Things we never seen before. Kind of like what we're witnessing now. We've never seen a former president and a current candidate indicted. Just like we never seen the stuff that took place in 2020. So you're telling me that Trump is standing in the way of these evil globalists removing our sovereignty and dragging us into that one world government? Oh, now I'm starting to really get concerned that maybe this could be the end. Could this be God showing us today it's all about to get wrapped up? Or could we get an extension of grace that might flip this back on his head and allow that eagle to shake it off and soar once more?
Can never tamper with the one thing they care about most, which is their foreign policy. A foreign policy that has not served this country, which has in fact weakened it.
I lived through it by this man's side for those 7 years. The moment that he got the nomination, we watched as the hidden power centers in this country came out from underneath their rocks and began to pull the strings that they control. They began to leak information designed to sabotage him at every turn.
I remember that.
They begin to use every organ of control they have in the intelligence community, the national security community, the law enforcement community, to try to control him and to control his presidency. Russia is the central example of this. They tried desperately to keep him from pursuing détente with Russia. They tried desperately to keep him from holding that summit with Vladimir Putin, to try to have a relationship between our two countries. Now look what has happened. Now that he is out of office, we are on the brink of a world war, Tucker.
Now do the bubbleheads know this? Or are they blinded by his white nationalism? Do they realize all the peace and serenity that we had under Trump? Do they realize that the Middle East was at peace? Do they realize that, Russia wasn't invading nobody, Kim Jong wasn't firing rockets nowhere? Did they realize that? Or were they so blinded by this false notion and this false perception that Trump is still taking us into World War III and he is the Antichrist and he's Hitler reincarnated, all of that stuff, that none of that happened. Only thing happened was we were safer, our borders were more secure, jobs were more secure, the world respected us more, our army was more equipped. All of those good things happened, but now they've all unraveled. And the bubbleheads can't even see how these corrupt people unraveled it right before their nose, because they were watching MSNBC and CNN and all of them and focused on racism.
As soon as they pushed him out of office, look what happened. We are now almost in a nuclear conflict over the borders of Ukraine. So you ask me, what is Donald Trump's crime? We know it's not a financial crime. We know it's not a campaign finance crime. His crime is refusing to bow or bend to the corrupt and rotten foreign policy establishment that is used to always get in their way in this country.
And that has much greater control over our system than I think any of us appreciate. I mean, you look at John Cornyn, the Republican senator from Texas, who I think most people, I'll speak for myself, sort of assumed he was kind of conservative. And then you realize, when you view it through the lens of what's happening in Ukraine, John Cornyn and Mitch McConnell and Tom Tillis and almost every Republican senator is a screaming liberal, actually.
Whoa. So, Tucker, I'm listening to Stephen. And Stephen listed the intel community, the deep state, and all the tricks that they use to stifle Trump, slow him down, hinder his progress. And then as soon as they got back on the wheels of steel, everything went to pieces. And now I'm also hearing that the rhinos that agree with the Democrats, which is the number one indicator, whenever a Republican and a Democrat come together on a major issue like foreign policies and war, guns, things like that, that's the moment you go, wait a minute. Why are they agreeing with these Democrats? Because the Democrats always got a hidden motive. Always. So it reveals that these rhinos are what they are. Rhinos. Or you wouldn't be agreeing with this garbage. See, whenever I saw Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell co-sign the January 6th narrative, rhinos. Whenever I see somebody like Mitch McConnell say Fox News shouldn't air that video footage, and I see Chuck Schumer saying the same thing, rhinos, uniparty. So we need to get rid of all of these agencies that are being used and abusing their power. And we also need to get rid of our rhinos. And that's going to come from us rejecting these rhinos and sending out folks to go ahead and primary these rhinos. We got a lot of work to do if we are going to ever fly again.
And if it weren't for foreign policy, you wouldn't know that. You wouldn't know that they are completely
Flushed it
aligned
out
with Chuck Schumer and the Democrats and Joe Biden.
Yeah.
So there really is a uniparty on the most important question.
Well, there's obviously an ideological disease that courses through Washington when it comes to foreign policy and the sacrifice of our interest to foreign nations and foreign profits. But it's even deeper than that.
It's deeper than
and I know
that.
this because I also worked on the Hill for almost a decade. The intelligence community is able to manipulate the intelligence process and the relationship with lawmakers in order to obtain the answers that they want from Congress. So when it comes to an issue like the Patriot Act, they can leak what they need to leak, they can push the narratives they need to push, they can manufacture the threats they need to manufacture, and they can work the relationships that they have in order to obtain the outcome that they want. And that has always been true on foreign policy for many, many, many years. Then Donald Trump comes up onto the scene of Washington, a man with whom they have no relationship.
Now, what Stephen just confirmed is that not only have they been doing that when it comes down to foreign policies, but now they're doing it when it comes down to domestic policies. How they've been using these folks to run all of these false flag operations, to go after the citizens who have opened their eyes to see what's really going on, the folks who've lost confidence in our justice system, the folks who don't agree with their foreign policies or their domestic policies, the folks that don't want to vote for these raggedy behind globalists and Democrats, us. All of that is now being turned on us as well, creating a perception that our country is in danger of white nationalist extremists, Republicans, and conservatives, creating this perception that our whole country is under attack and gun violence, particularly one gun or type of gun, is responsible for all of that. Not the inner cities who's killing everybody with handguns and stuff. No. Yeah, all of this garbage that we're seeing take place is one big fat psych op. It's being socially engineered by the powerful people who have the power to create the perception. And you know what they say? Perception becomes reality. So that's why you got a lot of transgender folks running around saying that y'all trying to make us disappear. This right here is a genocide. So we got to fight back with violence. That's why you have all of these black folks running around mad for nothing saying that the greatest threat to black men and black folks are white systemic police officers who's killing us every single day for no reason. See, that's why you have this, because of the psych op that they're doing. That's why you have it, because of the fake news that we were just watching. They got up there and said the same thing across the board, creating this garbage.
A man who has no affinity for them, who doesn't care about them, doesn't value what they value.
Trump,
and this for them is a panic moment. It is a panic moment. And we are now living in the 7th year of that panic, turning our entire democracy upside down. And I will tell you, if a prosecutor in Manhattan can take control of our entire presidential election process, then by what definition can we say that we even have a democracy in this country?
Wow. Now that's deep, Steve. So let me get this straight. They're using raggedy, low-level operatives to try to take down the king, the big guy. So let me understand this. Anybody can just drag anybody into court now. Y'all remember my video about that witch that they're using down in Georgia, going after Trump as well? That chick on TV talking about, that's right, I would love to go ahead and swear him in. That girl, the one with the evil, spooky witch eyes, her. They're using people like her. They're using people like Michael Cohen. They're using these dirt bags to go after Trump. So that goes to show, number one, how desperate they are. Number two, how much they disrespect the office and how our system works. And number three, how much they disrespect us. Don't give a darn about us. They're like, well, you know, we know y'all are seeing what we're doing, but so what? And we're going to wrap it up here in a few minutes because some other people are going to flush out that. Let's continue.
So again, the irony in everything is irony at this point is that they've been lecturing us for many years about election interference, but you're watching it happen right in front of you. The prosecution of Donald Trump is election interference.
Absolutely.
He's the Republican frontrunner. What's fascinating is that none of this has alerted the watchdogs to government abuse. Our media, no, just the opposite. The media are cheerleading our new standards of tribal justice.
The good news is here, it's our legal system in action saying nobody is above the law.
Nobody's above the law.
Oh, we already saw this garbage. Let's go ahead and hear from Miranda, I think Miranda Devine, because she brings a whole new feel to this. Let's see what she got to say.
To that saying, no person is above the law.
Let's be completely clear. None of the people you just saw care a thing about justice. Let that word burn in their mouths. No. They are obviously bloodthirsty. True. They would cheer as you were necklaced in the street. They would. No one is above the law. They would scream as you writhed on the ground. They would. So we thought we'd bring in Miranda Devine. Remind us of this story, which has been lost in the noise, if you would.
Well, this was a bombshell revelation that came from the House Oversight Committee headed by James Comer. And they've been methodically chasing down the money trail from China and other countries to Biden family coffers. And what they found was with one of these payments, a $1 million payment from China, it went through a proxy intimate of the Biden family and then was parceled out to 4 different family members, there being Hunter Biden, his uncle Jim Biden, and his sister-in-law, Hallie Biden, who's the widow of Hunter's late brother with whom he had an affair. And so then there's another account as well with an unnamed Biden. And this money was parceled out over 3 months, 15 different tranches to disguise it so that it didn't look like what it was, which was a bribe from China.
So wait a minute. Why aren't any of these local prosecutors in some of these conservative states just subpoenaing and indicting Biden? That's what I want to know. I mean, right now, shoot, I might as well go ahead and do it. It appears that anybody can go ahead and indict the president at this point, so why not? Yeah, you know what? Citizens arrest, knock on the White House door. It's creepy, sleepy in there because we have real evidence of corruption. Why aren't they going through these things with a fine-tooth comb? Oh, Anarcho Tyranny, that's why. Joe Biden's a part of the corrupt cabal. So they're pretending that this is an ongoing investigation. We can't talk about it. We're leaving it up to the prosecutor and whatever. Even though we had the laptop for about 1 million years right about now and all of this evidence is open. Why aren't those same media personalities who just lectured us about nobody's above the law? Why aren't they going ahead and sneaking and getting their hands on all of these files and stuff like that and going through Joe Biden's taxes? Why aren't they asking for somebody to leak his information? Why aren't these things happening to them? Why is Hunter Biden still running around free somehow? All of this right here, and everybody's focused on Trump and a payment that nobody in their right mind would ever try to prosecute. But that's perfectly normal, right? Trump's the bad guy. What other type of evil things that evil people are getting away with, Miranda?
Big story. First time we've really seen flesh on the bones of the money trail. And it was just buried within 24 hours because somebody leaked the story to the media that Trump was about to be arrested. And so all we've seen 24/7 since then is news about Trump. And that works for the Democrats. It works for Joe Biden. You remember in 2020, he hid in the basement and beat Donald Trump because he was had the excuse of COVID. And in 2024, he won't have the excuse of COVID, but what he will have is the excuse of numerous of these Trump legal prosecutions, you know, politicized prosecutions, obviously.
So y'all hear this? And I have to make one correction to what Miranda, whom I love, just said. He didn't win because of COVID. He didn't win because of that. He won because they cheated. And I'm just going to flat out say it. He's the same guy that said, we put together the most extensive voter fraud program. Yeah, that guy. The guy that said, I don't need your votes before the election. I need them after. I need your support afterwards. Yeah, that guy. That guy who couldn't draw no more than about 10 or 15 people to his crowd that was outside of the media, he won. The guy who got 81 million votes somehow miraculously. The guy who was losing the night of the election and we wake up the next morning and somehow he won. And yet if you disagree with that, then you're threatening our democracy and you get silenced on the internet. So yeah, she's basically divulging all of the corruption, the real corruption that is being overlooked. And yet they're distracting us with this nonsense concerning Trump. Now, they did this throughout Trump's whole presidency. They downplayed all the wonderful things that he did. And then they concoctioned all of this other mess, and they kept him under constant fire in regards to one investigation after another. Because in a minute, Glenn Beck's going to end tonight with showing exactly all that Trump has endured these last 4 to 6 years.
And that will just bury any bad news after 4 years of his administration stuffing up pretty much everything that they touch. But we don't hear news about that and all the other scandals that the House Republicans have uncovered in the last 2 weeks. Everything, from the border to more of these Biden scandals to Anthony Fauci's lies. None of it gets any oxygen because Donald Trump is just like crack cocaine to the networks, to the left-wing media. And we also know that if there are any sort of legal outcomes, any accountability that comes for Joe Biden over his family's influence peddling scheme, it will just be dismissed as tit for tat. The Republicans just attacking Donald Trump, attacking Joe Biden on behalf of Donald Trump.
That's true. Now, they got a nice little system set up. I mean, can you imagine laying the groundwork to have your own PR operation being disguised as news networks covering for you? Either not covering all of the corruption that is unveiled, or redirecting everybody's attention to your enemy, or simply making excuses for you and all of your corruption. And yet people don't even see it. But yet we do, and that's why we're on some type of list.
This Mackey case we told you about at the top of the show really does seem like a turning point for the country. The hallmark of a free society is freedom of speech. You can say what you believe. You don't have to hide what's on your conscience. And above all, you can mock the people in charge. They have to take it because it's not their country. They share it with you. It belongs to all of us. But the hallmark of tyrants is a total lack of sense of humor, for one, and an utter intolerance for dissent. And to see the media remain silent in the face of the most basic of all human rights being violated like this lets you know they're on the side of the U.S. government, the Biden administration.
Oh, that is true. See, because when you think you're in the elite class, one, you can't take a joke. You don't like anybody laughing at you or exposing your weakness or a flaw, okay? Because you want them to look at you as the sole authority. You want them to look at you as some type of demigod that we should, just look at in awe and behold. And say that anything they say, we must sit at the tip of their lip as all of this garbage drools right down their chin. And we're supposed to sop that mess up. We're not supposed to laugh at all your stupid statements and gaffes. We're not supposed to point out the fact that Joe Biden is the gaffe machine. No. By doing that, you're mocking him because of his child stuttering problem that he just developed in his early 80s. There you go. That's why. Late 70s or whatever. See, we're not supposed to make fun of them because then it really shows that they are emperors without the clothes on. And you might start seeing them in a different light. They want to keep that perception. They don't want to be able to laugh and enjoy because, see, they can't even reciprocate it. They can't even turn the memes back on us. They can't even use the same tactics that we use because their accusations of us aren't true. What makes what we do to them true and funny is because the fact that it is true. There you go. Crooked is crooked. Adam Schiff really does have a pencil neck and a watermelon-shaped face. Chuck really is crying Chuck. Nasty Pelosi is sure enough nasty. See, creepy, sleepy, sleazy, slimy, sloppy Joe is 100% creepy, sleepy, sleazy, slimy, and sloppy. So that's what makes it funny. But that's what makes them mad when they hear us say it.
Punishing people for mocking the party in charge with 10 years in prison. We're not overstating this. We don't think we're getting overheated. We really think this is a pivot point in the history of the United States. I'm not sure I've seen anything scarier than this.
It's pathetic and sick that this was ever even investigated, that it was prosecuted, and that there are people in New York who care so little about the things that make our country unique that they would vote to convict this person. It just seems like we don't have a country. We don't have rules. We don't have laws. The only thing we have is whether you're with the regime
or against the regime.
Well, I'm against
and if you're with the regime, you can do anything. You can lay siege to the White House and injure 60 Secret Service officers. You can lay siege to a federal courthouse in Oregon for months. You can burn down cities. You can, create the Russia collusion hoax, and you'll get a war.
Whoa. All of those things she just described, I saw with my own eyes, and under the new definition of an insurrection and sedition and domestic terrorism, everything she just listed falls into that category. And then you got them falsifying a full-blown Russia collusion narrative, and nothing happened to them. Now I'm starting to see it all played out. Anarcho tyranny manifested in everything these people are describing.
Words for it. You can come up with a smear, false about, a justice, someone who's nominated to the Supreme Court being a serial gang rapist, nothing will happen to you. You can even make jokes about when to vote and how to vote on election day. We see that all the time from people on the left. But if you're on the right, if you upset the regime, all bets are off and anything can happen.
The people in charge in Washington are breaking so many things completely. So many fundamental systems that have kept this country afloat and allowed it to thrive for hundreds of years. So you sort of wonder, what do they think the next stage is here? They put people in prison for making fun of Hillary Clinton. Like, what happens next?
It is really remarkable how much has been destroyed because of the left's refusal to accept in 2016 that people did not support the candidate that they supported. They're willing to burn everything down. They're willing to destroy the country. They're willing to break every precedent and norm because they're still having this temper tantrum, and they are fearful that the people might still have a say in it.
So basically, they can't take rejection. They're that creepy guy who, excuse me, can I talk to you? No, I'm busy. I'm on my way to work. But why don't you? Oh, so you think you better than me? Come on back over. Girl, hey, look, don't be walking away from me. Forget you then. Next day, still out there again. They can't take it. Asking the same stuff. Oh, you gonna talk to me now? Oh, forget you then. You know what? So they're that person. They can't fathom that we don't like their policies. We don't like the direction they're trying to take our country in. And now, since they can't take no for an answer, they want to go ahead and rig things. They want to go ahead and harass us. They want to go ahead and threaten us and intimidate us and all of those things. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to force us to love them. Well, you know what? Forced love ain't love at all, dang on it. This woman right here is dropping this mess.
But that's precisely what needs to happen, is that the people need to have a say. They need to be able to oust these people from office and positions of power. They need to get their country back. What we have is so precious. What we had is so precious here. From First Amendment protections to an understanding of constitutional due process. And we cannot let people's hatred and obsession take that away from us. People need to speak loudly, and people need to understand how serious the threats are that we're facing right now, and how, when you see this happening in other countries, this type of persecution of people, bad things happen, and people who care about this country should speak loudly about it.
I 100% agree with what that lady just said. And the sad part is many Americans don't. It's either they don't know what's happening, or they know what's happening, but they have a complete perverted, twisted view of it. They're inverting it and thinking that all that we have just highlighted during my show is actually designed to protect their freedoms, protect their manufactured issues in their heads that's making them think they need protection from it. Just like COVID. That's right. I got to wear 18 masks and get 15 boosters because folks are dying all over the place, but I'm not seeing them in the middle of the streets. Just like racism, got to abolish the police and let the Democrats go ahead and take away all the guns and take away all the local police, because Black folks are being killed every single day by cops all over the place, even though the statistics doesn't show that. Just like the transgender community is under the impression that we're all going after them, not the kids. We're not trying to protect the kids from this stupidity. No, we're going after the transgender community, and we're trying to create a genocide. Therefore, they got to now become violent and all that stuff. These are all things that these people that think they're fighting for their rights by supporting these folks are victims of the psyop. They're the ones, they're the useful idiots that these other agencies and these people are using to destroy the most beautiful country on the planet. They're trying to shoot that eagle out the sky. They done shot it. But I want that eagle to fly, Robin, fly. No, not forget the Robin. The eagle, fly, eagle, fly. Now we're going to close with Glenn Beck's question. Can America recover from this? See, where's this going? Do we have a shot? And what should we do? Glenn Beck, take us home. Oh, yeah.
One man stood in defiance of the establishment. Yes. The state knew that he could not be silenced.
He's talking about
They
Trump.
knew he could not be bought. Yeah. They also sat in fear as they watched a movement slowly grow around him. So they drummed up case after case. In the end, 4 total cases in an attempt to wield the legal system as a weapon. Well, one finally stuck. It was something in regards to the misappropriation of funds. And with that, their political opponent decided to turn himself in.
Yes.
When he departed, he said, quote, "I am completely happy. This is the best day in 5 months. I know I'm in the right and that the criminal cases against me were fabricated." Okay, what?
Now, wait a minute. That must have been a wonderful speech coming from Trump. And I love the narration. I love that, Glenn Beck. You just painted it clear, man, because I'm sitting there like, that's exactly what they've been doing to Trump over here in the United States.
I just read to you. It is exactly what the Russians recently did.
What? Wait a minute. That wasn't for Trump? You're telling me, Glenn Beck, that what you just read was what they did in Russia? What? You got to be kidding me, Glenn Beck.
To Alexei Navalny. That's Putin's political opponent. So I don't know. Maybe the American Democrats who say they hate Putin should maybe start looking at what they're doing, because they're staring into the abyss too long, because they're now mimicking the exact actions of the person they supposedly despise the most.
Yeah. So as they run around calling everybody Nazis and Hitler, and yet the Nazis actually took the manifesto of Jim Crow and just took out black and exchanged it with Jews, took the Jim Crow laws that the Democrats put together that Joe Biden was running around talking about Jim Crow 2.0. That, and they used that over there on those Jews, but yet we have to hear them call everybody under the sun Nazis. Isn't it funny how they are what they accuse all of us of being? They're the ones going around harassing people, screaming, shouting them down, won't let them talk. The Nazis did that. They're the ones saying that their political enemies are traitors of the country, and they're the problems that we all have in our country. They're the source of it. They're the ones that are saying these people right here are the enemies to our democracy. Therefore, we should treat them just as so. And thus you get all of these folks like Antifa and Black Lives Matter thinking they should just do whatever they want to anybody who disagrees with them, because the Democrat Party, who claims they don't want to be like these other countries and these other wicked dictators, because Trump's like that, but yet all of their policies and behaviors mimic those dictators. It's not Trump that wants the guns. It's not Trump that wanted to mandate a vaccine. It's not Trump that wanted to keep our economy shut down and our schools shut down. It wasn't him. Yeah, he wasn't doing that. He's not the one that says we should have more restrictions on freedom of speech because words hurt and they're dangerous and they're violent. It's not him. It's not the Republicans or conservatives talking about this stuff. It's these Democrats.
And that is, well, I mean, of course, it's Trump, and then a long way down, it's Hitler, and then Putin, I think. My question is there any way to come back from this? Yeah. Soviet communist, Chinese communist, and now American leftist. Yeah. What is the difference? Nothing. What have they turned us into? Yeah. Look at how they've persecuted our president, Trump. Look what he has endured. I don't care if you don't like him or not. The Russian hoax. We know that was a hoax. Nobody paid for that. He was impeached twice.
So wait, this is the stuff, the list that Trump has gone through, that the dummies that don't see it can't piece this together. They don't realize that all of these things that were thrown at Trump fall into the category of false and created by the very people who are doing the same thing again. All of these things fell apart and revealed that they were behind this mess, and they were lying and accusing Trump and all of us of doing things that they came up with. So let's go through this list so we can draw some conclusions about what they're currently doing.
on that. New York State case regarding the Trump Organization. They paid the fine. Georgia case regarding the 2020 election. The federal case with the classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. And now the current indictment in Manhattan. Look at this list. This is ridiculous.
It is. It's absolutely ridiculous, Glenn Beck. And I don't see how Americans can't see this. Even Americans that might hate Trump should look at that list and say, now, wait a minute. That's a lot. I've never, ever seen any president ever be attacked like this. Now, that doesn't send off an alarm. That doesn't make you go, my antennas are up. That is suspicious. Could it be that there are very powerful people who hate Trump because Trump is standing for something that the very powerful people that has the ability to pull all of this off and not be punished, have the ability to implement all of this stuff all the way to the point of censoring the president, and yet they're calling him a dictator? Could it be that those are the ones that are really trying to destroy Trump and they just need us to believe that they're doing the right thing?
Tell me this isn't what a banana republic does. And to answer my previous question, I'm not sure if we can ever come back from this. I have had conversations with people I respect who revere the Constitution and are historians and politicians, and they've all told me for years, the minute we start prosecuting our opponents is the day that we begin to completely fall apart and never come back. I told you at one point the masks would come off. I said that they would not have any fear. They were excited to show you who they really were and what they stood for. If you are willing and able to impeach an American president twice on lies that you yourself fabricated, accuse him of being a Russian asset, then launch 4 criminal cases against him to try to keep him from returning to the Oval Office, they obviously don't have anything to fear. They do not care, and they're excited to show you their future.
That right there says it all, Glenn Beck. They no longer kept the mask on. They're at the point right now where these demons on our planet that are motivating these folks aren't even shy no more. They used to try to pretend they cared about law and order and democracy and the middle class worker and all of that. They right now at this point is saying, no, we are going to be very open about the supporters of us versus the others. We're not going to pretend that we care about y'all. Yeah, you're going to have to force me to show up in Ohio based on that train wreck. You're going to have to force me to do that. See? Yeah, you're going to go ahead and I don't care if you bring me up to Congress and embarrass me and point out how we're going after all these Trump supporters and all of these Christian organizations, but letting Antifa and Black Lives Matter run free. We don't care if y'all embarrass us and call it out. We're not even going to try to hide it anymore. We're taking a full-blown mask off. We're letting you know we are globalists. Yeah, we are coming after your kids. We are coming after the Constitution. We are coming after your guns. We are coming after your freedom of speech. Now what you gonna do? That's where we're at. And that's why Glenn Beck is concerned about if we could ever recover from this. And that's a legitimate question.
How many Democratic fingerprints are on this attack? How far are they willing to go to eliminate their political opponents? I don't know if we ever come back from this, but I will tell you this. I ain't going to sit down and I'm not going to shut up.
Woo-wee! There you go. That's a great conclusion. I don't know what the future holds. They are really, really doing some things that has escalated very quickly, that we never probably thought in our lifetime. Even as a Christian, you sit back and know, you read the book of Revelation, you know the end time coming, you know all the stuff that needs to happen for it to come to, but you really, in the back of your mind is going, that'll probably be after my lifetime. Or, we'll be able to see it unfold and slow walk it and have time to adjust and whatever. But this crap right here has escalated so fast that if something doesn't stop it or change real soon, if it escalated this fast within the last 6 to 8 years, imagine if we lose in 2024. What happens then? They're going to step on the gas and man, there won't be a mask left on any of these corrupt people. They will all show the real demons underneath that mask. So our country is in trouble. They're coming after every area of our civility, every area of our morality, of our freedoms, of our rights, all of that, y'all. And they're using some of the most dirtiest tactics. And I'm going to be doing a live show that is really going to focus on another area of attack, which I've talked about many times, but it's the whole, let's get those kids and let's use these radicals who feel like our community is being unexisted and, genocide is taking place. It gets deeper. I got a video that's going to really, really open that up and show folks what's going on. So maybe, just maybe, if God has mercy on America, the eagle will one day rise again. So we'll see. So God bless y'all. Thanks for checking out the show. Hit that like button, share my videos, follow me on all the other platforms. Make sure you're still subscribed and your notification button is set to all. And thanks for the super chat. Thanks for the donations to my Cash App and my PayPal. Don't forget, check me out on Rumble. Go ahead, subscribe to my alternative channel. And also make sure that you check out the podcast. All right now, God bless y'all. God bless America. And let's continue to see what shall happen as these things unfold. Let's bounce, y'all. Oh, yeah, man. This is our city.